topics and opinions expressed on the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4WN Radio.
Welcome to my radio and TV show, Debi Changes Lives. I'm Debi, certified holistic health coach. I revitalize people's lives by helping them identify the root causes of their health and mindset issues and create a custom natural holistic strategy to address them in the areas of mind, body, and soul. As a health coach, I'm not allowed to say that I heal, treat, cure, prevent, or diagnose any diseases. I can certainly make your body more efficient by reducing symptoms. You'll feel better, be more productive, enjoy life more. Not many people have released 70 pounds, had a health and mindset transformation, and kept fit and trim for over a decade. I have, and I have staying power. And it's been over 12 years. I even became a half marathon runner at the age of 51 when I never ran from childhood to adulthood due to foot pain. And I have done 9 half marathons so far. Mindset is the key to lasting change. As a certified holistic health coach, I revitalize people's lives in many different areas of health and mindset. I guide them to clean, toxic-free foods and high-quality essential nutrients. My coaching is for optimizing your health, whatever is needed, releasing weight efficiently when needed, and enhancing your mindset. With my clients, I help them recognize that their thoughts, feelings, and emotions drive their actions and results. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. That's why it's crucial to have a positive mindset in life. It's also imperative to manage and release those low vibrational emotions like fear, frustration, and doubt, because all that's going to do is slow you down and get you stuck physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Like a hot air balloon that has balances, I help my clients release those emotional balances and baggage to uplift to a better, healthier life so they will release their stress and they're getting healthier and they're reshaping their core beliefs. You will see and feel the differences with my coaching programs. Ask me about them. Set a complimentary consultation at Debi Changes Lives. That's DebiChangesLives, as in Victory, es.com/linktree, LINKTREE. And I'll guide you to a better, happier, healthier life with custom, natural, holistic solutions unique to you in the areas of mind, body, and soul. Today, my guest is Laura Aiello, founder of, you can put her graphic up, founder of LAYLO Wellness. She's a longtime leader in the fitness and wellness industry with 3 decades of experience from studio floor to global executive roles. Being a global leader, she creates retreats, courses, and conversations designed for women who want stronger bodies, clearer minds, and friendships that last. Her very first retreat was sold out very fast, by the way. And her work centers around building a life that holds up physically, mentally, and socially as the years move forward. And that's where I'm a little different. I'm a certified holistic health coach. So I help you with your health, your body, your mind, mindset, and emotions. And she works with your social wellness. She's grounded in lived experience and direct practical styles. Laura brings depth, grit, and real world tools to every room that she steps into. Laura is also an author, surviving domestic violence and leading a high controlled religion. Remember, you built a full life, but maybe your relationships are not as strong as they should be. Through LAYLO Wellness, you'll you focus on your social wellness as well as a driver for long-term health, grounding, and real and built for how you actually live. We'll be discussing social wellness to live a better, longer life. Let's welcome Laura Aiello, founder of LAYLO Wellness, to my show. Laura, welcome to my show. Hi.
Hi, Debi. Thank you so much for having me on today. I'm really excited to be here and get into the conversation.
Yeah, and we just relate so much in so many different levels, and I completely understand where you're coming from. And, the social wellness component is so important that people don't really pay attention to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did the landscape shifted your perspective on what actually matters to long-term wellness?
As you mentioned, I really come from a body of, work that is grounded in lived experience as well as research and education. But I find that lived experience what builds passion in you. And so, as you mentioned, there was a point in my life where I was involved in a marriage to an abusive person. And I had grown up in this very high control religious community that didn't allow for divorce. And so I finally did have to leave. And in doing so, I left my entire support structure behind. My parents disowned me. One of my sisters stopped speaking to me, my own daughter. And that entire community that I had been raised in and lived in for many, many years. And as a result, as I was approaching 40, this is just before I turned 40, I had to completely rebuild my life from not only the personal side of it in terms of, or I should say the professional side of it in terms of having a career and creating that for myself, but really learning how to build relationships that are built on something other than the situation or a circumstance, and really creating intentional friendships that were built on similar perspectives, similar values, not identical, because I don't think that it's a good idea to try to replicate yourself and surround yourself with yourself. And that doesn't really make a lot of sense. You don't need an echo chamber, but you do need people that care about you as a person versus you complying with the things they think are important. And so that is a huge factor in why I focus so much on social health. I have been in the fitness industry for over 30 years, in everything from teaching group fitness classes to an executive level, directing programs across the globe. And so I really do feel like physical health is really important. And I really focused on that for all of my career, honestly. What you eat and how you move, and those things are very important. I still focus on those things. But I realized that there's this missing component when it comes to our social health. And so bringing, that professional experience that I had together with my personal experience, I began really digging into that social factor and the importance behind it, and came across just a boatload of really fascinating research that supports the idea that how great your relationships are, how deep they are, along with, a purpose in your life. Those are the number one indicators of longevity. And that really blew my mind, because I think that sometimes our social life is something it's either on the back burner or we're letting it coast. It's kind of on autopilot. And until we're faced with, hopefully you don't have a situation where everyone disowns you, but I can help you with that too. But if we are, sometimes faced with a situation where there's a big transition that happens in our life, all of a sudden we are hit with, oh my gosh, I don't have the kind of support around me that I thought I did, because I was focused on other things and was letting my social wellness slide. And that's where I come in to help you figure all that out.
It's so important, like I said at the beginning of the show, because just like you pointed out, loneliness is the number one reason why people pass away when they're older. That's why social wellness and being kept in activities, meeting new people, what you're doing is you're sharing, oxytocin, because it's a form of love. I mean, hugging and things like that, but it's also, you really jive with this person. You really are intrigued by this conversation. You really are, it's creating a lot of happiness. I know during that time, during the pandemic, I was always waving at everybody, whether we had masks on or not. When I was running, hi, good morning, have a great day. And I could see their eyes just sparkle because those were times that we were shut down and we were like, you can't do this, you can't do that. And not that relates to what you went through, but my whole point, you need a tribe around you.
Yes.
A tribe that supports you. You need, that's what we need. We grew up that way as cavemen and cavewomen in tribal societies. And if we don't have that, it creates sadness and depression seeps in. So you were just like, wham, bam, whoa. And you got through that. So I am really applauding you, for what you have done, because it's really a hard thing to do. But you have your own values that were important to you, and that's why you did what you did. So,
yes.
So, like you said, most people think of about longevity. They focus on fitness and nutrition. You and I both do that, right? But I also focus on emotions and mindset.
Yeah.
But where does social connection fit in when it's often overlooked?
So I think that a lot of it has to do, going back to what you said, you get that that oxytocin feeling when you hug somebody, and so I think that we're so used to doing and going and not a lot of being, and so what ends up happening is that sometimes we can have a really full schedule and we're meeting with our friends and we're doing things with them, but we're walking away feeling sort of empty. And we're walking away not with that energized feeling or that, I'm so glad I got to spend time with this person, but it's almost another thing on our to-do list. And so one of the things that I really want people to think about is when they have interactions with people, how do you feel when you leave that interaction? Do you feel full? Is that love tank filled up? Do you feel empty and depleted? Are you somewhere in the middle, or it's just sort of not really negative or positive? It's just a thing you did that day. And it's surprising how often people are in social situations and they're not connected. They're not really connected. And that is one of the challenges that we have is, oftentimes we are surrounded by people. There's not really a lack of people. It's that lack of connection, a true connection with people. And so that you feel understood, you feel cared about. And it doesn't mean that you always agree with these other people in your life. I'm not voting for, surrounding yourself with yourself, but I think that it's just really important that you feel that the people in your world care about you and you care about them, because it is a two-way street. And sometimes you might have somebody that just loves you and you're like, you're nice. And you don't have that same sort of feeling. And you may be that person for somebody else where you're like, I just think you are the bee's knees. And they, just don't feel that connection. And that's okay. And that's part of, I think, the challenge that we have with social connection is that sometimes I feel like we are held in place by some invisible rules that we think we need to obey. So if we've been friends with somebody since college or since grade school, we feel like we need to always be close friends with them. But if every time you interact with them, you're always discussing what happened in the past and you barely even touch on where you are now, is that the depth of friendship that it once was? It doesn't mean that they're not a friend. It doesn't mean that you have to cut them off. It just means that maybe they went from that close inner circle to that little bit wider circle. And sometimes they go out a little further and sometimes they come back in. So we have to allow for this expansion and contraction that is natural. We replace about half of our friendships every 7 years. And that is due to our lives change. Kids grow up and move on. So maybe all of the moms you were once friends with, because you had all your kids were together, your kids have scattered, going off on their lives. And sometimes you're kind of left looking at each other like we don't have that much in common anymore. And that's okay. And so some of that social connection is giving yourself permission to allow your friendships to expand and grow, as well as recede and maybe contract a little bit. And that's what really keeps you feeling vibrant and alive and keeps that social structure and support around you in a way that's really, viable for you and helps continue to move you on that longevity trend.
Yeah. And, as you're saying, expanding and contracting, some people have things going on in their life. And that might be the reason why they're not reaching out and doing things with you at the moment. But it doesn't mean they have forgotten about you. Because I have somebody in my life that's kind of like that. She comes back, hi, and she complains everything. She explains everything that's going on. I'm like, that's okay. I kind of knew. Welcome back.
Yeah.
that type of thing. And, she obviously has an open door for me, and I have an open door for her. But she just, she gets into these little things that, I guess it might be a worthiness thing. She gets into this worthiness thing about herself. It kind of disappears. And I think, with, as you explained before, with social type of things, whether it's for business, whether it's for your friendship, or whether it's family, there's moments where you feel like, ugh. Or you feel like a thing in your stomach, like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. You know what I mean? And those are the things that your intuition is telling you to do something, step out and do something different.
Yes.
And that's really important to pay attention to your intuition. Men have intuition too, but women tend to tune into it a lot better than men.
Yeah. Yes. Although I will say, I think sometimes women sit in the guilt world. So sometimes they ignore their intuition because what their intuition is telling them, they may start to feel some guilt over. So, if you, rather than feeling okay about letting your friend kind of come and go in your life, if you start taking that and internalizing it, which is what some people do, and they start feeling like, have I done something wrong? They're making a lot of stories up in their mind about what is really going on. Or maybe they're thinking, oh, I feel like I need to keep reaching out out of guilt, versus just letting that person be where they're at right now. And so, listening to your intuition and then following up with a course of action that feels right for you, I think is really critical.
Yeah. I think also in our society, people are very judgmental. Not only about others, but about themselves. Like that guilt moment someone's giving themselves, or they overthink things. And I found that it was a waste of time for me to overthink. So I have stopped doing that as much as I can. I'm not perfect, but I do that as much as I can, because I know for me, whatever I want to do is what I'm doing currently and what I'm going to do in the future. But if I judge every little thing or every little person, that's probably not a great way to say it, but you get my point. or a situation I'm in, I'm not going to get very far in life. The whole point of life is enjoying yourself. So whatever social situation you're in and you don't feel comfortable about it, it's not the right fit.
Right.
And there's other things out there that be brave enough to move forward to find them, because you'll be a happier person in the long run.
Yes, absolutely. I think that, they say, it's like 70, maybe 73% of people want someone else to go first. They want someone else to approach them. And so if you are willing to be the 30% that says, "Hi, I'm Laura. It's such a pleasure to meet you. Tell me a little bit about yourself," your life is so much better. And I know that people, talk about introverts, extroverts, social anxiety. There's all these words flying around out there. At the end of the day, you do need to take action. If you want things to change in your life, if you want improvement in your life, you will need to take action. It doesn't mean something huge, but it can be as simple as complimenting a stranger, to just crack that door open, giving a kind smile. It doesn't have to be this huge thing. What's the worst that can happen, honestly, if someone just says hi back to you or scowls at you, and moves on with their day, and you can just easily say, they must be having a tough day. I hope it gets better for them, and move on. And a lot of the self-talk that we have is more what holds us back than the actuality of a situation. So allowing ourselves to just have that little bit of grace. And, if you reach your hand out to somebody and they don't want to take it, that's okay. They're on their own road too. So, if you really want more friendships, if you want deeper friends, you may have amazing friends, but maybe you're really busy and you're struggling to figure out how to fit everybody in. That's a different problem. So how do you address that? But whatever those challenges are, it's going to require a little bit of action out of you. Just like if you want to be more fit, you're going to have to lift some heavy things, or move your body. If you want a better gut biome, you're going to have to eat a little bit differently. It's just no two ways about it. It's going to require some action on your part. But, once you do it, your life starts to open up for you, and you feel so much better about where you're at and who you are. And if at the end of the day, you said hi to 10 people and 9 of those people scowled back at you, at least they have one positive experience in their day, because whatever was making them scowl wasn't you, it's something else. And you gave them one positive experience. If they hopefully are spending some time at the end of their day saying, did anything good happen today? Oh yeah, one person was nice to me and said hi, and then that one person out of those 10 that responded, then you've got that extra, little boost in your own day as well. And that potential new friend, that potential relationship, just like dating, you don't just keep dating the same person for years just because you've always dated them. What are you, and some people, maybe they do that, but most people that are not still dating the guy or person that they dated in high school, they've moved on because that relationship didn't work for whatever reason. And friendships can be the same way. And we really want to be, looking at our friendships and kind of curating those friendships. And then, we go from there, but it's going to take a little bit of action on your part.
and a choice of a decision. Now, when you work with high-level women who look like they have everything together, what's really going underneath the surface when it comes to the relationships and connections?
A lot of times, and I really find this, people my generation, Gen X, and the tail end of the boomers as well, we are fiercely independent people, infamous as being the latchkey kids, and we just pull ourselves up by our own bootstraps, and we are accomplished. We can do all kinds of things. We can move mountains. We have schedules like you wouldn't believe, and we manage to keep all of those balls in the air, which is amazing. And I think that is one of the incredible gifts of sort of that era of person. However, we suck when it comes to asking for help, or even being able to look at ourselves and realize that we could use a little bit of help and support. We're so used to this shell that we've put on, this armor that we wear all the time as we move through life. And that armor was really, really helpful when you needed to, maybe survive staying at home by yourself in the afternoon, and you heard scary things and you could be, you could tough it out. Or, you were teaching yourself to drive at 16 and you're leaving home at 18 and you're out there living life and you needed some of that armor. And the world is a challenging place. And so, we need some armor. Sometimes we need some boundaries, but armor needs to have room to breathe, and boundaries need to be permeable for the right people. And we need to be able to have honest conversations with ourselves about what we really need in our lives. We are not, no matter how independent we are not built as human beings to be alone and face and do everything alone. And so that includes the joys and the wonderful things in our lives. We like to be able to share those with other people. And when we run into challenges, do you have somebody you could call at 4 a.m. if you had to? Do you have somebody that would be willing to drive you to LAX and drop you off at the airport? Do you live in Southern California? That's like the number one criteria of a really good friend, is somebody that can take you to the airport. So, sometimes we need people in our lives, and that helps make us a more well-rounded person. It helps us be able to perform better. And yet when we are, really high functioning people out there in the world, sometimes we don't even recognize it in ourselves. And sometimes we do, but we just ignore it because we're too tough for that. That's soft stuff. And, people want to think that it doesn't really matter. But I want people to start looking at their social health as a health metric.
Okay.
Just like your cholesterol, just like your, what's your VO2 max, just like your heart rate. All of those things are indicators of how healthy of a person you are. And this one piece we try to ignore sometimes, and because it's inconvenient, we're busy, we've got things to do. And I think one of the number one things you can do, honestly, because I really focus on sort of these three pillars, right? Your social health, your physical health, your mental health. Combine things. I need to get out and go for a run or go for a walk. Bring a friend. Call a friend. Now you're social and you're working out. There are ways that we can continue to stay connected with people that don't necessarily require, a weekly dinner or, a monthly coffee date or something like that, because we are busy people. We do have a lot going on in our lives. So find ways to combine activities, find ways to stay connected, just a text, I'm thinking about you. It doesn't have to be long and involved, but it helps keep the thread of that relationship going, so that, when you're in a spot where you have a little bit more time, you can crack that door open and it doesn't feel like I'm coming from outer space to come back into this relationship.
Yeah, because you are kind of tapping and touching and reaching out. Let your fingertips do the walking. And sounds like
you just told your age on that one.
And my whole point is that reach out and touch somebody wherever way you can, with calls, with texts. You can even do a Zoom chat, yeah, if you guys are like states apart. So there's always ways of connecting with people. So What's one or two changes someone can make? I guess we kind of mentioned a few this week to start improving their social wellness in a real doable way.
I think one of the best things you can do is tell yourself each day, I'm going to invest in connection today. And so that doesn't necessarily, again, mean I've got to have a lunch date or I've got to, create this big schedule, but it means it's on my mind and I know that it's important and I'm going to prioritize it. So a simple thing that I do, and this sounds terrible, but I literally have a written list of my really close friends. And I make sure each week that I have reached out to them either via text or an email or something. I'm not a phone person. I do not do long phone conversations. That's just me. If all the people that know me know, don't call her unless it's an emergency, because I'm not a phone chit chatter. But I will do things like this. I will do Zoom, but a text. And things like that. And so I, every week, not every single person on my list, but I, every single week, will text 2 or 3 people and just say, I'm just thinking about you. It's not a way to try to get something back from them. It's just that little drop right there. If you have a really good friend, I have one that we used to work together and we're still very close friends. And when we were working together, we were previewing a digital product that the gym we worked for wanted to put in. And there was just this ridiculous video that was part of this product. And it was bad. It was really bad. And so just every few months, so we, of course, recorded it on our phones. And so every few months, just out of the blue, no context, no words, we just send that video to each other. And it's just, it's one of those things that just, it puts such a smile on our faces. She said, when I die, I want you to come to my funeral and just play that video without saying a word to anyone about what it is about. And I said, I will do it. But it's just those silly little things that keep the thread going, so that in between you have, that connection, and then you can, do something that's a little bit more solid when that opportunity presents itself. So that's one thing. Another thing is, remind yourself that you can't find time for someone. Time isn't just lying around for you to pick up. You're going to have to make the time. Yeah. So whatever that looks like for you, if it starts to feel like a burden, you're doing too much. So if you're telling yourself, I am going to have lunch twice a week with 2 different friends, and it starts to feel like this burden, and you're like, I don't know how, I've got all these things I'm trying to get done, and I've got to go over to, make sure my mom's okay over here, or, I'm looking after my grandkids over there. I've got this big project due at work. You don't need that. You don't need to be putting that kind of pressure on yourself. That's not what I'm talking about. So, just making sure that you have carved out some time. So maybe that's a couple times a month, you will have an in-person connection with one of your friends. I like exercising together. I think that's an incredible way to sort of kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I still teach group fitness classes after all these years, and I have some great friends that come and take my yoga class or my weightlifting class. And I see the people that are the most consistent in all of my classes are the people that come with friends. And it's a social connection for them, even though they're sweating it out together or whatever. But it's a way that they maintain that social activity. So, Zoom call, a text. But I think the very first thing you really have to focus on is just telling yourself every day that I'm going to make some kind of, social connection today.
That's a really good idea. Now, if someone starts talking about social wellness seriously, what changes over time in their health, energy, and day-to-day life will be?
Oh, I love that question. That is fabulous. You start to feel more of a sense of connectedness to the world around you. And I think I've been hearing a lot the word anhedonia. Have you heard of that? And it's not depression, but it's just not really finding joy in your life. It's not bad, but it's not good. You're just
Plus, just being plus, just saying I'm just living this way and not doing anything.
yeah. And so you're just
Complacent is the word I was trying to say. Complacent.
yeah, like you're going through the motions, you're going through, and they're not bad things. It's not that you don't like your life. It's just you're not finding a lot of joy in it. But when you start to polish up these relationships, and I particularly focus on friendships, although it could be family, it could be, a significant other, depending on the status of those relationships too. But friendships, I think, are the ones that we, are easier to let go of because they're not in your house. In your house, it's a little bit harder to ignore them. But I think that when you start doing that, you find a little bit more joy, because I think these people start to open up boxes in you that maybe you've been keeping on a shelf somewhere. And you start to find just more enjoyment in your life. I think that's where you start to open up, and the changes you begin to see. And that in turn can also kind of engender a more purposeful life, because you want to be there for your friends, you want to show up for them. And if you do have things that you want to do with your life, whether it's I want to volunteer more, or I want to, be able to support somebody in another area, or I'd like to get involved in XYZ. You've got a little network of people to help you explore that and find that out. And now all of a sudden you're starting to feel more purposeful again. You start to open your world back up. And that's what you start to see over time. These are the things that I think about that really give you that longevity that we're looking for. And go ahead.
They give you variety too. So, and that's important in life. Variety.
Absolutely.
Spice in life. So,
yeah, we love routine, but we want that spice in there too. We don't want it, nobody wants to live in chaos. But too much routine starts to get kind of dull. So, and we can't look to, I think, our family or a significant other, like one or two specific people to fulfill every part of who we are. That's not a reasonable expectation, no matter how aligned you are with that person. There are things that they love that you are just never going to love. And there are things that you want to do and that are interesting to you that they just don't want to talk about. And so you need to go find those people that are going to, continue to keep that interest alive in you. And that's what helps keep you, engaged in life. And that's what is going to help really take you through, a longer life, and not just longer, but healthy as you're aging as well, because most of us don't want to live longer, but in a terrible state. That doesn't sound good to anybody.
You want to enjoy your life when you're older.
Exactly.
So what is your offer for my audience today?
So I have this great new quiz that I just crafted, and it's called Full Calendar, Empty Tank. And that's what it's about. Is your calendar full, but your tank is empty? You're feeling empty. Why is that? And so it's a 10-question quiz that helps people kind of figure out where are they at in terms of their relationships. And they might find themselves landing in different places with different people, but it helps you take a clear, honest look at your social life. Am I relying on legacy friendships and relationships that don't really align with who I am now? Have I allowed my social circle to shrink down to nothing, and so I don't really have a social circle? Or am I in a place where I have some amazing friends, but I'm distracted by all of these things in life, and I need to get back to figuring out how I can really cultivate and take care of these relationships. So it's just a simple way for people to sort of put their foot on the path to figuring out where they're at, and, you know, and some simple tips to start to drive them forward in the direction that they would like to be taking their relationships.
Yeah, this is a wonderful offer, Laura. I mean, you guys need to take advantage of this. There's a QR code for this full calendar empty tanked quiz, and also there's a link down there, which is https://LAYLO, that's LAYLO wellness.com /full-calendar-empty-tank, and take advantage of this, because it's really going to open your eyes. I believe it's going to, and help you realize what you need to do for your social wellness. So thank you for being my guest today. Please stick, I would love to have you as a guest again. So I assume you will be a guest, right?
I would love to, yeah.
Okay. So please stick around for closing remarks. We'll come back to you again, okay? So remember, I do revitalize people's lives in many different areas of health and mindset. I start off with the gut and mindset, but I also help you with, you know, hormones, blood sugar, brain and heart, bone and joint, as well as immunity. I help people that are anxious up to athletes, because I do guide you to clean, toxic-free foods and high-quality essential nutrients that will reduce symptoms. You'll feel better, possibly release additional weight like I did. I was on maintenance at 50, and then I lost another 20 pounds with what I offer with you as well. So, and it's going to uplift your mood. And with my mindset coaching, I help you release that stress, emotions, emotional entanglements, and I'm there while you're reshaping your core beliefs. Your mindset will be more enhanced. With my health optimization and weight release, your body's going to be more efficient. So that's a mind-body connection that makes your heart and soul sing. So ask me about my program. Set up a complimentary consultation at Debi Changes Lives. That's DEBICHANGES LIV as in victory ES.com /Linktree LINKTREE, or use that QR code. And you will get to know me. I get to know you. And you can go to the next, there we go. And I'll guide you to your optimal health. And it starts with 1 or 2 assessments. The first one is actually the health evaluation, where you rate your symptoms the last 30 days in 4 categories of health. Some questions are in multiple categories, answer them all. You'll get a baseline score, and don't be scared of it, because I'm going to be there helping you. I first review this with you, and I create that custom natural holistic strategy for you, and we are reducing that score on a monthly basis. I also have 2 different body scans. I prefer to do ViseraLink because I can send it remotely and internationally. ViseraLink is a transdermal optical imaging app that I send a link to your phone. You scan your face for 30 seconds. It doesn't recognize anything in your face. It goes directly in your skin to look at blood flow for components of energetic, functional, and emotional in different body systems and lifestyles. The emotional component is such a hidden gem because it ties in with traditional Chinese medicine, where an emotion like anger is tied to the liver. Now, it doesn't mean that your liver is not dying. It just means you need to be alert about it. This report is not a diagnosis. It's a wellness report where you're going to see biomarkers out of range and products and services that bring it back into range. And I do review it with you because it's quite intensive. It is a $75 product, but if you move forward with a program or product, you get $25 credit on one of those. The ViseraLink is a transdermal optical imaging app, also known as TOI, and you can look it up at pubmed.gov. That's PUBMED.gov for its accuracy. People are really amazed what their body tells them in the scan, and you'll be too. If you're curious, get the scan done or ask me questions on my consultation site. On my consultation site are my programs, which is the next slide. Take Your Body Back is a 12-week weight release mindset coaching program where you can be succeeding with a new version of you. All coaching is done on Zoom, and the first one's private to you because I am a certified HIPAA health practitioner. All evaluations are private to you. I go over those evaluations. I give you a choice of 3 different programs, and one's a natural approach to the GLP-1 with no injections and doesn't have the side effects that the medical component does. You choose one of those 3, and I give you directions. I also give you instructions how to create that new version of you that's going to drive you to success throughout your health and weight release journey in a vision board. And I give you instructions how to do that. As well as I give the rest of the coaching, whether it's group or private, is the same. We're going to be celebrating our wins. I'll be showing you how to use your boards, and I'll be guiding you with health and mindset tips. You will become a new you. Because this program has changed over the years, you need to ask me questions at my consultation site. Also, if you do it yourself, or White Fast is for you. It's an intermittent fasting program that gets your cells and body humming and boosts your metabolism with rich, dense nutrition and high-quality essential nutrients, with a program of exercises and recipes. If you feel like you need some coaching for that, you can pay for a 2 or 4 week program, and it's up to you if you want to pay for more coaching. With my mindset enhancement as well as my weight release, you could use these smaller programs, but those are a little bit longer term journeys, so you can save money on those larger. They'll probably be more economical, is what I'm trying to tell you. But I also can create a custom program for you if you want to do a few weeks or 4 weeks that might save you some time and money. I'm still offering Debi's Coaching Chat, which is a coaching session that's not recorded in a group session. It's based on a survey, a topic picks. For the video audience, you see these topics, the audience, you need to email me for them. These meetings are on Tuesdays at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, and it's at debichangeslives.com/chat, and you learn what my coaching is all about. Finally, learn more about alternative health services, programs, products, offers, articles, blogs, upcoming shows, events, and promos by subscribing to my newsletter, which is at debichangeslives.com as well, /radio, TV show, and lowercase. You can also use that QR code. And I give you a gift, a 30-day health and mindset daily action journal where you can record your gratitude, thoughts, feelings, emotions, water, supplements, exercise, as well as you can even track your measurements. Then you want to review it on a daily, weekly, monthly basis to see your wins, to celebrate them, find your gaps to work on. If you need help with your gap, bridging your gap, you contact me with coaching. This is a great health and mindset awareness tool. I'm certain that you found this show educational, eye-opening, and enjoyed it. Reach out to me for my services, products, programs, and offers, and get and take Laura's quiz on social wellness. You may just be like blown away by that. Do we have time for Laura to come back? Welcome back. You have anything else you want to say?
Well, first and foremost, thank you so much for having me on today. I really enjoyed our conversation. And I'd love any opportunity to sort of get the word out there to help people realize that your relationships are decisions. They are a series of active choices that you have to make to reach out, to show up, to be honest, and to invest time that you could potentially spend somewhere else. But once you make those decisions, once you invest that time, what you're bringing back to yourself is more joy in your life, more years to your life, and more life in your years.
Yes, you are. And you're going to have more vibrancy as well.
Absolutely.
And, it'd be great to work with you in an event in the future. I hope you're up to that.
Oh, I would love to do that. I love to speak to groups, and I like to have people come into my retreats or work on other people's retreats or events. So I'm always open to any kind of collaborations like that.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
So I have to wrap up my show now, but continue to enjoy my radio and TV show, Debi Changes Lives, at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, where your holistic journey begins.